Wendy Alexander, hiring guru. What makes a good hire? Can you tell right away?
Well, I feel like I can tell right away, but there's a what if here. Where I found my success, and this is so important, it isn't just about the person in the role, it's about understanding the job, the manager that's going to be in charge of that person, the team that they're going to be interacting with. That's where I found my success. And that doesn't come overnight. That took years and years. So I'll use an example in banking. It took a while to understand that this is a good hire, this is a good candidate for the job, right? Step one. Step two is what's their personality like and how are they motivated? How do they communicate and how do they fit with that manager? Because if they have certain needs and that manager is a hands-off person, that might not work. It could be the best team member in the world and the best fit to the role, but if they're with the wrong manager, it won't work. Now you can move that person into a different department under a different manager and they could thrive, but they could fail under this manager. Or what if the manager and the hire you're hiring are going to work great, but there's a key team member that will not mesh with this person and may cause issues. And that manager may not know how to deal with that. And that I've seen come to fruition. So you have to get really into those details to be able to do really good hiring. So I find that difficult sometimes for external recruiters to do because it takes years of understanding those managers, those team members, those dynamics that are constantly, by the way, moving in each department, in each location.
So an external hirer would be like a headhunter, right? So I need to find this person, and that person moves all the dials and buttons. But you, as an internal hiring person, would say, we're having more success because I can dig a little deeper than they can.
Yes.
Now,
And
I,
by the
I,
way,
I imagine, Wendy, that somewhere along the line, if the company's big enough, it's cost effective to do this all internally than externally, right? Okay. You were talking, I interrupted. You were talking about women. Is that right?
no, I was just going to say that it's not that external recruiters can't be successful, they can, but it's going to take a certain amount of relationship building and hungriness. So even in my past, the external recruiters I've worked with, I have to be very careful about that. You really have to build that relationship and trust. You have to kind of let them into your company if they're really going to help because they need to almost feel like they are a team member that understands those teams. They
Hmm.
can't
And
just be, shotgun affecting it. They
you
can't
said
just be like,
hungriness. Hungriness. What do you mean by that?
hungriness as far as really wanting to understand the team makeup, the manager, the dynamics of that team, the challenges of the role, the areas for improvement. Yeah, there's a lot to it. And I think that's even difficult for internal recruiters.
I was listening to a woman. I was at a funeral I was attending. This is many years ago. And she was saying, and then I sent out the email to the group. And wouldn't you know it? And she says to the group, a baby boomer comes over to my cubicle and says, I see you sent out an email. And then she wanted to talk about it. And then everybody in the group, they roll their eyes and go like, oh, don't you hate that about those baby boomers? All they want to do is go and visit you about the problems, they said. And then on the other's perspective, well, we just have to work with these younger people. They're millennials, and I don't know what their generation is, but they just don't seem to have the same kind of, I don't know what to say, but it's just harder to work with them. So this is people talking about all different generations. I always argue that it's really the same person. Everybody's the same when they're younger. Everybody's the same in middle age. Everybody's the same. And we just have to figure that out more than, throw bricks at somebody who happens to be 20 years younger or older.